Good evening and welcome to KUTV Weekend Live. We are here to bring you up to speed with what has happened in the country and of course across our borders. But first, the headlines. Kenya Kwanza meets the Kajiado delegation today as Azimio One Kenya makes camp in Murang'a County. Critics will not deter me from executing my mandate of ensuring security, says Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i. HIV infections on the rise as Health CAS Dr. Mwangangi reveals. And on our special feature tonight, we look at how the state of economy has affected small businesses. Alright, welcome to the broadcast. I'm in the company of Paul Wakoli, a sign language interpreter tonight. My name is ODIDA. The Kenya Kwanza Brigade, led by the presidential candidate Dr. William Ruto, earlier today met a delegation from Kajiado in his current residence. The Kenya Kwanza leaders accused President Kenyatta and the Azimio la Umoja coalition for trying to interfere with the upcoming elections. The coalition now wants IEBC to perform their role of delivering a free and fair election come August 9, as Samuel Mwaka now reports.
With only 16 days remaining before the eagerly awaited August polls, the Kenya Kwanza Brigade, led by the presidential candidate William Ruto, earlier today met a delegation from Kajiado in his current residence. Speaking in the meeting, the leaders accused President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Azimio team for trying to meddle with the August 9 polls. They also warned him against using the police and other state agencies to frustrate the IEBC.
Do not allow the police to be used to manipulate the election, to intimidate the IEBC, to cause confusion. You have a duty as president to ensure that every Kenyan enjoys their constitutional right.
Na nataka niseme hivi, si wametutumia polisi, si bado tuko town, si wametutumia DCI, si bado tuko hii town, si wametuma KRA, si bado tuko town, chiefs na county commissioner wametumiwa, si bado tuko hii town.
Kazi ya polisi sio kuchunguza uchaguzi na sio kuchunguza IEBC.
The Kenya Kwanza ally leaders hit out at their rivals on the Azimio wing, claiming the existence of a conspiracy to tarnish the name of the IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati.
We want to tell President Uhuru Kenyatta, since you swore to serve for only 10 years, please, Mr. President, don't use the back door to put our country into crisis for purpose of another Kofi Annan moment, for purpose of extending your term and extending the term of handshake and kitendawili.
Hii mambo ya kila wakati Chebukati lazima ikome.
This comes amid allegations that some IEBC officials were arrested and taken in for questioning by the DCI. They have also warned the Azimio wing and President Kenyatta against interfering with the activities of the Electoral Commission IEBC.
Tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8, wajue kibaraka yao hapati kura. Na kama hapati kura wajue hakuna njia ya kuongoza Kenya. Wakijaribu kuhadaa IEBC wajue watashindwa. Na wajue kura ya hasara hakuna mtu anaweza iba. Leave alone IEBC. Leave alone IEBC ifanye kazi yao. In 2017 tulikuwa na huyo mzee na akasimama akasema kwamba hana haja na kitu inaitwa manual register. Leo hii anasema without a manual register hakuna uchaguzi.
The Kenya Kwanza team later campaigned in Narok County. Mwaka Samuel, KUTV.
Critics will not deter me from executing my mandate of ensuring security. That was the declaration by Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i following recent criticism by certain politicians over his political stand. Matiang'i reiterated that recent meetings with various administrators before the forthcoming elections are meant to ensure a smooth transition.
Interior CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i has brushed off political critics over his stand in the coming polls, reiterating neutrality among the security forces. He highlighted meetings between his PAS Karanja Kibicho with administrators as a necessary duty of the docket.
Wakati mwingine unajua nyinyi mnasikia wananchi tunalaumiwa hata tunalimwa tukiwa pamoja. Kuna hata wanasiasa wengine nimeona siku hizi hawezi kumaliza speech bila kusema Kibicho na Matiang'i. Yaani ni kama asiposema Kibicho na Matiang'i hata pewa chakula nyumbani akifika. Lazima tafute namna ya kuleta Kibicho na Matiang'i ndani ya speech yake.
In a fundraising drive in Nyamira County, Matiang'i hit out at the politicians, telling them not to be dismayed as they were on course to ensure all was secure before and after the August 9th polls.
Wale ambao wanahata complain wakati mwingine TPS wangu wanakutana na machief, ameenda kukutana na machief. Sasa na ujiuliza unataka akutane na nani? Because you see, machief ndio tunafanya kazi nao. For the last over 5 years, wakati tumekuwa kwa Ministry of Interior, we have been meeting with chiefs, tunakutana na hawa machifu wakati wote. Na tukikutana na hawa machifu ni kwa sababu tunataka kupanga kazi. Sijui tumefanya nini? Ni kazi tunapanga tu, na hiyo kazi tunaipanga kuhakikisha kwamba nchi yetu inakaa kwa amani, watu wetu wanakaa kwa umoja, na tunamaliza hii mambo ya uchaguzi bila shida yoyote. Kwa hiyo mtu asikuwe na wasiwasi.
Similar sentiments found wind in Nyandarua County, where the county commissioner Amos Mariba told off politicians from associating administrators with their campaigns, declaring them a neutral outfit.
Siasa ni vile tu hatuwajibu, lakini wengi utasikia wanaanza kupiga maafisa wa polisi, maafisa wa utawala, maafisa ambao sisi ni watumishi na tuko na sheria ambayo wanasiasa wakiisha tekeleza ni wajibu wetu kutekeleza, na tumekula kiapo kudumisha haki na kuhakikisha kwamba tunatekeleza kila jambo bila uoga, shauku au chuki yoyote.
Mariba spoke at a peace rally called by various stakeholders in the county, including the clergy, where he regretted that politicians were using the campaigns to hit at police and administrative officers, noting that they were meant to uphold justice and serve all, regardless of status and political affiliation.
Mimi nawaomba kwamba wanasiasa wawe na kiasi wakati ambapo wanaongea, wasianze kuingiza watumishi wa umma katika siasa.
Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commissioner Central Region Commissioner Ali Halif warned politicians against using public resources in campaigns, noting that those found culpable will be prosecuted and the resources recovered from them. He also cautioned the civil servants against campaigning for political parties and leaders, noting that they risked being fired for not adhering to political neutrality as stated by law.
Wafanyikazi wa serikali ambao wana campaign, sheria ya Leadership and Integrity Act inasema wewe kama mfanyikazi wa serikali kuna kitu inaitwa political neutrality. Wewe fanya kazi yako kama mfanyikazi wa serikali, wachana na siasa, na tukikupata katika siasa basi hiyo sheria itakuchukulia hatua.
The law requires that public officers seeking to stake their claim in the political arena resign 6 months to the general election, after which they should maintain a non-partisan stand in their service. Emmanuel Kutosi, KUTV.
Nairobi Governor Anne Kananu has reshuffled her cabinet again. In the new changes, Larry Wambua, who is currently the county executive member in charge of the environment, has been named the new Nairobi CEC for finance. The position was initially occupied by Alan Igambi, who is the chief officer for agriculture. Lysia Mulwa, who was previously the CEC for agriculture, has moved to the education department. The changes come a week after the summoning of the 2 top finance officials over claims of abuse of public funds. Those summoned officials are Chief Finance Officer Mohamed Sahal and the former CEC for Finance, Alan Igambi. They were summoned to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations headquarters following complaints from City Hall that they were misusing public funds. There is a need for concerted efforts to curb new HIV infections, especially among young people. Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Mercy Mwangangi has said. Mwangangi has highlighted that 17% of new infections currently in the country are among those aged between 10 and 19 years. She noted that despite efforts by the government to fight the pandemic, there is a big threat posed by the disease among those within the productive age. Take a look.
The national HIV infection rate among adolescents has declined from 78% in 2016 to 37% in 2021, and there is still a big burden associated with the disease. This is according to Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Mercy Mwangangi, speaking in Murang'a County during a launch of an accelerated COVID-19 mass vaccination exercise. Dr. Mwangangi has tasked parents to talk and advise their young children about the negative impact of HIV. She says early sexual intercourse among young girls not only puts them at risk of getting pregnant, but also exposes them to contract HIV.
It has been 38 years since Kenya documented the first case of HIV, and we have made significant progress towards ending AIDS as a public health threat.
She added that the management of HIV and AIDS in the country has been a big burden, saying that more than 25.8 billion Kenya shillings is used on a yearly basis to buy commodities for prevention and management of the disease.
We put 5,890 children on post-exposure prophylaxis. Yani ile dawa unapewa saa zile ambayo daktari anaona pengine umeambukizwa na ukimwi. Lakini tukiangalia zile tarakimu za wale ambao tulipea watu 5,890, 236 acquired HIV. And additionally, 1,665 adolescents were reported as being pregnant. Kwa hivyo ni muhimu tuzingatie hili jambo la triple threat because it is a problem and it is affecting the young who are the most productive in society, and particularly when we look at the future of our country.
The CAS added that the new infection can be reduced if all stakeholders work together and spread the fight against HIV.
HIV amepata chanjo yake ya tatu.
Dr. Mwangangi further cautioned of increased gender-based violence, which is also affecting the youth, saying that the rate has increased to 85% between the year 2016 and 2021. She observed that early teenage pregnancies are also posing health complications to young girls.
Tukiangalia akina mama wale ambao wanaenda ANC clinic, ile ANC clinic, 25%, yani quarter ya hao kina mama ni watoto ambao wako na miaka 10 to 17. Murang'a County. Tumeangalia mambo ya alcohol abuse. Tumesema kuwa it's important to recognize that heavy drinking of alcohol reduces our judgment and it increases the probability of unprotected sex. Na ni muhimu kuwa mambo ya consumption of illicit brews is also looked into because the two and two are related when it comes to HIV infections.
Dr. Mwangangi has asked residents to elect leaders who will give health much needed attention, saying poor politics result in poor service delivery in the health sector.
That report by Samson Jura brings us to our first short break. Stay tuned.
Driving and riding without incidences on the road is such an amazing experience. But do you know while many road traffic crashes are avoidable, human behavior continues to be the leading cause. Speeding, lane indiscipline, drunk driving, distracted driving, failure to wear a helmet, and failure to use available pedestrian ways have been flagged by NTSA as the fatal 6 behaviors likely to lead to a fatal crash and serious injuries. As part of the Usalama Barabarani campaign, we request all road users to prevent these fatal 6 behaviors for their own safety and that of others. When driving, ensure your speed is within the stipulated limits. The road ahead is clear before overtaking. Stick to your lane. Keep left unless carefully overtaking. You're well rested if driving on long distances, and you never drink and drive. Usalama Barabarani starts with you. Fika Salama. This message is brought to you by the National Transport and Safety Authority and the European Union.
Now, let's talk about inclusivity as it is structured to be within government.
Groups or individuals, we have the women, we have the youth, we have the persons with disability.
How is inclusion ensured in the county government processes?
Letting the majority have their way, but not ignoring the say of the minority.
So be sure to try this at home. It's a fun experience before you get to sit down and enjoy the meal.
The percentage in which government is giving opportunities to this specific type of groups under the AGPO, like what percentage has the government given?
No, but like I said, you see, when a budget is done for every year, every ministry will be able to place their budget for it. But whatever is given to them, 30% of the budget for that ministry is dedicated to AGPO. 30%. So if let's assume, for instance, that a ministry is given 2 billion, for instance. Now, 30% of 2 billion would be about 600,000? 600 million. That will be dedicated to AGPO. And therefore, when you go to a ministry, as a young person, as a person living with disability, 600 million is actually meant for you.
This is The Agenda with Benturo Komboka and Colonel Retired Cyrus Oguna.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. Now let's continue the bulletin. The cost of living continues to be a challenge to Kenyans, including the sellers and buyers of basic foods such as chapati. Chapati business owners now say it is indeed difficult to manage their businesses following the rise in prices of commodities in the country. Joy Pauline gives us a report on the challenges in the chapati sector.
A record of high food prices has triggered a global crisis that has driven most Kenyans to the risk of extreme poverty, magnifying hunger and malnutrition. In a local eatery in Kenyatta Market, which serves the greater population of Kenyatta University's main campus student, is a businessman who sells chapati. Joseph Maumba, the indigenous bread maker, says that due to the increase of the ingredients such as flour, which now runs at 200 shillings from 140 shillings, and cooking oil, which now runs at 419 shillings a litre from 160 shillings, they are forced to reduce the sizes of chapatis for them to market at a normal price.
Okay. Kwa sekta ya chapati kuna mabadiliko kubwa sana. Unga imeenda juu, gazi imeenda juu. Sasa inabidi tufinye hizi chapo zikuwe kidogo hadi customer wenyewe wanalalamika.
Maumba says that the biggest challenge they are facing now is loss of customers, as only a few of them still purchase the delicacy. As a result, he has been forced to make less chapatis compared to the usual amount. Customers, on the other hand, have been complaining about the reduction of the sizes.
Inabidi tunapika tu kidogo. Wameacha kukula chapati siku hizi. Chapati si kama venye walikuwa wanakula, saa hii hawakuli chapati. Inabidi tunapika tu kidogo. Ulikuwa unapika kwa 50, saa hii unapika kwa 7.
Alice is an affected consumer. She says the price of the commodity now goes at a price of 15 shillings from 10 shillings without a change in the size.
Imepanda bei. Tulikuwa tunanunua chapo 10 bob, sasa hivi tunanunua chapo 15. Na size ni ile ile tu, haijaongezwa juu bei imeongezwa.
Achieng is another consumer of chapatis. She likes them so much, but due to the increase of price, she now purchases only one compared to previous days when she could purchase up to 3. This is because she cannot afford to buy the 3 because they now go at a higher rate.
Imechange kabisa. Kitambo nilikuwa naweza nunua 3 nikikula. Sasa hizi hizi nunua hiyo 3 juu bei imepanda. Sasa hii unaweza pata nanunua 2 ama 1.
These customers, however, understand that the changes experienced in the chapati sector is due to the peak in ingredients cost, and therefore no choice remains except taking the prices and the sizes as they are.
Sasa mimi nafikiria tu vile maisha imepanda, ndio maana hiyo wameweka bei ya juu na size ni kidogo kulingana na bei ya unga na mafuta.
Wanjiku Mwaura is an economist based in Nairobi. He has much to say on chapati business.
What we are having is that number one, what is affecting our prices is a number of factors. Number one is like when we are looking at the cost of fuel, because most of goods are transported by road or by sea or by air. When the price of fuel rises up, and the peoples in the value chain who are involved in the transportation, most likely they are going to increase the cost of transporting these products. A case in my days whereby, for example, if you look a few months ago, a 2 kg packet of chapati flour was costing about 150 shillings. Today, that same packet is costing about 250 shillings. That is almost 80% increase.
Maura reiterates that most of the commodity have been on the rise due to the high cost of fuel, which has in turn caused a rise in the price of transportation for the commodities, resulting in hiked prices.
On one side, we have got consumers who don't have a lot of what we call the disposable income. They don't have a lot of money to spend. On the other side here is a small business person who is incurring high cost of production. So in one of the way or the other, we only have 2 options: to either increase the price of this chapati, or number 2, to continue reducing the size. Because whereas the small trader would like to give chapati at the same price, at the same size, but how is the businessman or the business?
He adds that chapati sellers should not be on the blame for the changes that have occurred in the sector, adding that they are only left with 2 options: either to increase the prices or rather decrease the size.
Fuel. It went from 100, 110, 120, 130. Just the other day when the country had a serious shortage of fuel, a liter was going at 135 shillings. But this morning when I was fueling my small Prado, I was shocked that petrol is 160 shillings per liter. So, and when you do that projection, we don't see any situation of the prices coming down any soon. And we do not want to lie to ourselves, or we lie to the people in this country that cost of production is going to come down sooner.
The economist adds that should the prices, particularly of fuel, continue soaring, customers will be obliged to purchase commodities at high prices. Majority of Kenyans might have realized changes in the menu from their favorite hotels. Kenyans will be forced to dig deeper into their pockets to cope up with the economic situation. Joy Pauline, KUTV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Joy Pauline, for that report. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has urged East African Community EAC leaders to fast-track implementation of programs and projects that will deliver quick results for the benefit of EAC citizens. Acknowledging the progress the EAC has made since its re-establishment more than 2 decades ago, the President emphasized the need for the leaders to remain focused on the goals of the community in order to meet the desire for an inclusive, equitable, and responsive integration process that addresses the daily needs of the EAC residents. The head of state said the citizens of East Africa must be involved in all stages of the integration process by making them aware of what is happening in the community as part of ensuring inclusivity.
Kwa hivyo ni ishara ya kwamba tukiunga viongozi wetu mkono, tukishirikiana pamoja kama wananchi wa Afrika Mashariki, hakuna lolote ambalo hatuwezi kutimiza. Hakuna jangwa ambaye hatuwezi ruka. Twaweza kubadilisha nchi zetu ziwe nchi ambazo zitakuwa viongozi sio tu katika Afrika lakini kwa dunia nzima, na tuheshimiwe na dunia na nchi hata za huko nje kwa sababu ya umoja wetu na kwa sababu ya yale maendeleo ambayo tunaweza kutekeleza kwa sababu ya huo umoja.
Azimio One Kenya coalition led by its flag bearer Raila Odinga and presidential running mate Martha Karua pitched camp in Kangema, Murang'a County, where Odinga has termed the diseases corruption, ujinga, and poverty as Kenya's enemies to development. He, however, promised to fight the 4 enemies should he be elected come August 9, as the coalition officially received Governor Mwangi wa Iria.
With only 16 days remaining to the much-awaited August 9th general elections, political bigwigs are on their campaign trails homestretch, the aim being drawing more Kenyans to their agendas. Today, the Azimio One Kenya leader Raila Odinga and his running mate Martha Karua camped Kangema, Murang'a County, where they were warmly welcomed by Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria, who recently joined the coalition. Raila has termed corruption, diseases, poverty, and what he calls ujinga as the 4 major enemies to the development of the country, enemies which he claims he will tackle if he is elected president.
Haja yetu ni kupigana na adui wa Wakenya wanne. Kwanza ni ugonjwa. Pili ni ujinga. 3 ni umaskini. 4 ni ufisadi. Hawa ndio adui wa Kenya. Tukimudu hawa adui tukiweka chini, Kenya itainuka.
Tunataka serikali ya kulinda mali yetu. Iwache kuporwa, kuibiwa na kutumiwa vibaya.
Odinga's allies have criticized their main opponent William Ruto of Kenya Kwanza as they went on to claim that Raila has more political support and he will bag Kenya's top seat come 9th August.
Nani anataka asaye mtoto yake awe hasana? Nani anataka someshe mtoto yake arudi awe hasana? And you are proud. Sisi ni watu ya Wilibaro. Nani anapeleka mtoto yake kwa shule asukume Wilibaro? Watoto ya William Ruto ama watoto wale watu wanaotembea nao, hakuna yule ambaye ni hasana.
Na huyu ndugu yetu alipokuwa deputy president miaka 10 alitangatanga akamangamanga Kenya nzima na hatukuwa na faida yote sisi huko pwani. Sijui kama nyinyi muliona hapa.
The Azimio One Kenya promises were accompanied by entertainment from various artists, especially vernacular artists from the Agikuyu community. Murang'a Governor Mwangi Wairia, who recently joined the coalition, was also officially received to the coalition.
And you know, wamama wanajua mambo ya ng'ombe zaidi. Nyinyi mkienda, hii mtanilipa na programu ya One Home.
Elsewhere, Wiper leader Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka today campaigned for the Azimio One Kenya coalition in Garsen and Lamu, where he urged voters to elect Raila Odinga and Martha Karua for the country to prosper. Kalonzo says a Raila government will guarantee free education and healthcare and job creation for the youth as it assures security for every Kenyan. The Wiper leader says Raila is the best bet for the country to grow and have a lasting peace and prosperity. Kalonzo addressed political rallies in Garsen town and Lamu today.
Raila amesema jamii hizo zitapata shilingi 6,000. Umenielewa hiyo? Angalau wajimudu. Na tukisonga na baba care. Unajua baba care? Na tema matibabu. Matibabu anasema kila mwananchi apate dawa. Na tena iwe katika bima ambayo inalipiwa na serikali. Kama huna njia ya kufanya, unapata madaktari na health center kama hapa Garsen. Hospital.
The Azimio presidential flag bearer Raila Odinga has come to Murang'a County, which is part of the larger Mount Kenya region, aiming to reach the top of the mountain by August 9th, as Kalonzo would Garsen and Lamu residents to rally behind Odinga. Mutweri Eliud for KU TV.
Thank you, Mutweri Eliud, for that report. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has urged East African community leaders to fast-track implementation of programs and projects that will deliver quick results for the benefit of EAC citizens. Acknowledging the progress the EAC has made since its re-establishment more than 2 decades ago, the President emphasized the need for the leaders to remain focused on the goals of the community in order to meet the desire for an inclusive, equitable, and responsive integration process that addresses the daily needs of the EAC residents. The head of state said the East African community must be involved in all stages. The head of state making them aware of what is happening in the community as part of ensuring inclusivity. Rainforest Alliance, an international non-governmental organization, has embarked on a program of popularizing insect rearing as a new lifeline and source of income among youth and women in Embu and Kirinyaga County. Facilitator Ms. Charlene Muriuki from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology Enterprise Department said insect farming offered a highly economical and sustainable solution to food and nutrition insecurity in the country. Nyeri County Commissioner Edison Nyale hailed the initiative, saying it was a sure way of keeping the youth, majority of who are jobless, away from crime and challenging them to be early adapters of the project and other emerging technologies.
Wadudu tunajaribu kuwakuza in terms of value addition kwa incorporation ya animal feeds na value addition katika vyakula kama unga ambavyo tunaweza zikula sisi wenyewe kuongeza protein content ya vyakula vyetu. Pili, tungehimiza watu waongeze ukuzaji wa hao wadudu sababu tunatumia waste sana sana kwa black soldier fly.
Wadudu wanaweza kuongezea dhamana kwa unga yangu na iko na protein nyingi sana, na nikiweka kwa unga yangu inasaidia watu, watoto, hata watu wazima wakitumia hiyo unga inakuanga mzuri.
The Nyeri County Engagement Forum, a county committee which has been implementing the county counter-terrorism strategy against violent extremism, on Friday launched a series of volleyball tournaments to foster cordial relationship between members of the public and security actors. The friendlies, which were played at the Kamukunji Stadium in Nyeri, saw teams from the Kenya Police Service, Kenya Prisons, Kenya Wildlife Service, Administration Police, National Government Administration Offices, IEBC, and County Law Enforcement Offices pitted against teams formed by border riders, youth from informal settlements, market traders, and Nyumba Kumi elders. Nyeri County Police Commander Martin Olo urged residents to maintain a good relationship with police and to continue volunteering information that will be useful in maintaining security and order.
My name is Ben Gashisho. I'm the County Secretary. I stand here on behalf of His Excellency the Governor and the County Commissioner, who are the co-chairs of the County Engagement Forum for Fighting Violence and Extremism. This is the basis for this program. This is a long-term program to create trust between the Wananchi and the security personnel in fighting as a collaborative mechanism for fighting terrorism.
We are not going to use tear gas. We are not going to use live ammunition against mwananchi ya Nyeri County. Kwa hivyo tunawaomba kwa unyenyekevu, sisi kama the National Police Service, tunawaomba. Ukisikia the National Police Service has got 3 components. The General Duty Officer, ambayo ni sisi, ambayo ni wale ambayo wamevaa blue kuanzia mimi. Sisi tunaitwa the General Duty Officer.
All right, let's have a look at what's happening in the world of sports. Hosts Morocco will face off with South Africa's Banyana in the final of the Africa Women's Cup of Nations on Saturday night, each side looking for its first ever continental title. The Banyana are playing the final for the 5th time in their history and a second consecutive time, having lost to the Nigerians in the last tournament hosted in 2018. Morocco